Hi, I'm Jeff Murr. I want to welcome you to True Texas History, where today, February the 8th, this is the anniversary of the arrival of David Crockett in San Antonio. Now, I refer to him as David Crockett rather than Davy Crockett because he preferred that. And David Crockett is one of these people that there are a lot of stories about, even to this day. And there are some so-called Texas historians that try to whitewash and remove, especially the Christian roots of David Crockett. David Crockett, he came from poor and humble beginnings and worked his way up through the militia ranks and eventually became very good at making stump speeches and found himself elected to Congress 3 different times. Of course, while he was in Congress, he raised some eyebrows because he was a man who was willing to take stands, unpopular stands. Like, for instance, he was against the funding of West Point. I know that'll raise some eyebrows, but he saw it as an elitist institution, and with his experiences in fighting against Indians, he believed that we didn't need an institution to train military leaders, that they could learn from experience. He was also quite an experienced hunter. And he went into Congress. He felt like the Lord was leading him to become a member of Congress. Of course, there's a lot of people say, well, he wasn't a Christian, but other people say he was a Christian. From the evidence that I've read and from reading his own autobiography, yes, David Crockett did write an autobiography. I've come to my own conclusion there. Now, David Crockett, he was pretty upset after having lost the most recent election. He felt like the Jackson political machine was taking over. And it wasn't just Andrew Jackson. He also had some run-ins with Polk, who went on to become president later on. But, in many ways, it was almost like an organized political machine had operated against him, and the election was rigged, and he had had enough of it. Now, another thing about Crockett that many people don't talk about is that on his way down to Texas, he went ahead and pronounced an oath of allegiance to Texas. So when he was at the Alamo, he was fighting for Texas independence. He was not fighting for an extension of the United States at that point. A lot of times, even some of my favorites like John Wayne and Red Skelton, they put forth this idea that, this was a great American, United States endeavor with David Crockett at the Alamo. No, it was about Texas independence. Those facts kind of get brushed under the rug and glossed over the years. And I also find that a lot of the people who came to Texas, there were political machines are nothing new. They existed in the past, and they continue to be with us. It's a continual challenge, and Texas always gave some new opportunities. And Crockett felt that it was a new opportunity for him. In terms of the man, he married twice. His second wife is the one that ended up coming to Texas later on. And the first wife had been a descendant of the Macbeth family, of King Macbeth, the famous historic figure. But his family, they changed the name to Crockett. It was originally, I can't remember the French spelling, but it was a French family that had some strong Huguenot roots, and that he grew up in. And he definitely had a strong conviction of right and wrong. In Congress, he took the attitude that it's not our money to do with as we want. It was the people's money. And this came up when a question came up as to whether or not Congress should appropriate some money to aid a widow whose husband died in service. He took that saying, I'll be glad to give him, money out of my own pocket, but I'm not going to give him the people's money. It's a shame that our politicians have not learned from the example of David Crockett and maintain the attitude that it's not their money, it's the people's money. There's a lot of lessons to learn from David Crockett. So it's not just a matter of him dying at the Alamo, it's also the legacy he left in standing up for what's right. I like the saying that has been attributed to him, make sure you're right, then go ahead. So anyways, it was on this day back in 1836 that he arrived in San Antonio in preparation for the whole episode at the Alamo. I know I was influenced by the John Wayne film where you see him ride into town. That wasn't quite like that, but he did arrive in San Antonio with 16 of his companions from Tennessee, and things soon heated up in San Antonio quite drastically within a couple of weeks, but we'll talk more about that in some of the coming episodes. Anyways, I wanted to share this with you about David Crockett. I'll give you a little bit of background so that you understand a little bit more about the man. We all know a lot about the way he died, but what's important is the way he lived and the example he set. So until next time, this is Jeff Murrah wishing you vaya con Dios, my friends. Goodbye.